What's up, guys? This is Carter Thomas with Coin Mastery TV, 2018, episode 1. Thanks so much for joining me, and make sure you go to coinmastery.com/invest. Get on the newsletter list, get a bunch of free PDFs, downloads, especially if you're just getting started in crypto. It'll help you make better decisions. Took a few days off last week. I did one video, as you guys saw, and quickly realized that the rest of the videos of the week would not be up to par. You guys really shouldn't spend your time watching stuff that's like mediocre quality, and I wasn't in mind space to deliver that, so I decided to go drink a few Bud Lights, play a little golf. I actually hit my first eagle. For anybody who plays golf, it's like probably the only time I'll ever do that in my life, so that was pretty cool. But now I'm back. I'm excited and very stoked on cryptocurrency for this month, for this year. Today, what we're going to do is walk through a little bit about what's going on here, what's been happening to a certain extent, and just give a little bit of a State of the Union type of situation, because I think it's easy to forget those bigger picture what's going on, especially as, I mean, the talk and the eyeballs and the money has all been in altcoins for the past few days, even weeks. And I want to bring it back a little bit and remember, or just look at some bigger picture stuff. Look at the big three: Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, or I guess Ripple's the big three now, which we'll talk about in a minute here. Do that, and then I want to also walk through briefly a presentation that I did for anybody who came to the meetup in San Francisco. If you didn't get to see it, people have been emailing me asking me to send out. Which was the 3 trends of 2017 that I thought were interesting. 3 trends that I think will play out in 2018. Over the course of this week, I'll give you more of my own predictions, specifically what coins I'm going to be looking at. I didn't do it today because honestly, I didn't have the. I want to be able to show you the research or the real foundations behind it all. Because, as you guys know, when I do pick something, as I build a position, it's for the long term. Or I mean, it's just I try to go bigger on fewer coins, and so I didn't want to just like throw stuff out yet. But over the course of this week, we will roll that out, and I'll give you also kind of an overview of my performance this year. Can't get into obviously any numbers, but I can show you some things that really worked. And the bottom line is, I crushed. Like if you compare holding Bitcoin versus holding others or trading, I was able to crush that index, which was really my goal for this year with the amount of money that I wanted to be trading with. So that was really exciting. That was the big one. So we can walk through that. So stay tuned this week. It's going to be exciting every day. We'll be delivering a little bit. Now, looking at Bitcoin, you can see here on this 1-day chart, Bitcoin has had a bit of a tumble, so to speak. And I mean, the first thing you do is you always scroll out. I'm on Coinbase's charts. This only goes down to 2015. And you can see that I ran a very basic fib retracement off of the wicks, not necessarily off the candles, on the daily candles at least, which is showing a bit of a, the little bit of a consolidation around the 50% retracement, right around 12.7. We're hovering around 13,000. We have been kind of bouncing up and down between 13 and 14 last few days. And I think that this is a very timely indicator of the holiday season. There's not many aggressive people in the finance world that are working 24 hours a day like the people in crypto. I mean, we are used to 24/7 markets. People in the financial world, in the event, not even venture capital, more private equity or family office type style world, this just isn't a time where they're going to get aggressive. And I'm not that's one factor of many, but you're seeing the price of Bitcoin drop, and the volume is kind of it's going up and down. It's dying a little bit, decreasing, but it's more just that there's not a lot of support right now, or hasn't been last week and a half, 2 weeks, to prop that price up, or more importantly, to drive it back up with big budgets. That has indirectly led to a very huge driver of altcoins. It does not mean anything negative about Bitcoin whatsoever. It's purely that the people who are driving the Bitcoin prices are just taking a little bit of a break. What that means for you, or I should say what I'm doing about this, why you should care about this, is I think we are going to see a huge resurgence from Bitcoin over the next 2 to 3 months. I think that January, you're going to start to see some people coming back into offices. They're having meetings and realizing that they're going to get back in. They're going to put together their strategies. I think in January and in February, you're going to start to see a pretty big push, especially in U.S. dollars, right? American-based banks, funds, whatever. So this may consolidate for a few more days, but I wouldn't be surprised if it holds this 50% fib line and really punches back up sooner rather than later. So that's what I'm going to be really looking at. Similarly, looking at Litecoin, and I drew this fib last week off of this run starting at around 96. This is on the USD chart because I think this paints a little bit of a better picture for explanatory purposes. It's helpful to look at USD charts for this because of the whole psychology from Coinbase. It's the cheapest option and all that sort of stuff. This has been, it tagged the 0.61 line and it's been holding right around there. This looks really good in my opinion, especially since this candle came down, and the fact remains that Litecoin it's still the cheapest option. Now there's a lot of rumors flying around that Ripple may be going into Coinbase. I have no idea if that's true. There's a lot of speculation about it. If that is the case, there's going to be a different dynamic with that price and everything else. But I think Litecoin is looking good. I've been bullish on Litecoin for the past month or so. I've been buying a ton of Litecoin for the past month and a half, and it's done really well. And I still think that Litecoin has a very, very strong case, not only from the charts but from a fundamental analysis. I should probably move this up a little bit. From a fundamental analysis, Litecoin is just a good product, and it's fast. It confirms quickly. It's available to a lot of people, and I know that many people are just buying Bitcoin so that they can move it to exchanges more quickly. So I like Litecoin. I like Bitcoin a lot too. And then surprisingly, I actually really like Ethereum right now too. Now this is kind of I should probably not use Coinbase because they had this flash crash, and I don't know why they don't get rid of these. Like those candles really mess up when you're trying to scroll up. Whenever you see these huge dips down, and so Ethereum's looking good too. We've seen this type of chart in the past where Metal had this, Salt Lending had this kind of chart, OMG had this chart. I mean, this is a very good-looking growth chart, and I think we're seeing some consolidation here, especially look at this volume popping up without any sort of huge price movement. There's definitely some sort of consolidation happening the same way there's consolidation happening here. And you could get really technical on this and do some probably flag or pennant or some sort of breakout situation here. But you guys know, I mean, Ethereum was like one of my big entries into crypto. I mean, I've been buying Bitcoin for years now, but Ethereum was when I really started to get serious about it. And I haven't really been too crazy on Ethereum, but from a pure price standpoint, I think it's got a good run. They're working on a lot of things, and my whole thesis on Ethereum from a long-term standpoint is it really just comes down to them getting a big win, which we'll talk about in a minute here. Now, let's go over to Binance. If you guys are not on Binance, you really should be. Go to coinmastery.com/Binance. That's my referral link. So if you decide to sign up, and if you buy anything, I get like 0.1% or whatever. It's not that you don't pay for it. It's like they pay me. But it's where a lot of this action is happening. You're seeing a lot of these new ICO coins, these coins that are smaller market cap, getting huge surges, and Binance is kind of becoming the place that you want to get listed the most because, to be perfectly honest, they're a little bit more flexible. That's a big air quotes around flexible with their listing policies. meaning it's kind of a pay-to-play situation where if you can pony up anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000, whatever the fee is, you can get listed on this. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that, but what I am saying is that is what that's what's the thing is, and that's why being on Binance is so helpful. So if you were looking for the new, where things are happening, go to Binance. You could look at what these surges are looking for. You could look at some of the volume on some of these new coins, especially some of the cheaper coins, and you can start to see, anywhere from 10 to 40% a day. It's always just, it's wild to see. So I've been using Binance a lot more. I think some of these new ICOs that are just getting massive valuations, it's definitely exciting. Like Icon's really exciting. I think Request Network is really exciting. Poet. I don't own any of these, to be perfectly honest. I wish I did, but they've had huge runs. VeChain, obviously, a lot of people are very stoked on that. But Binance seems to be where it's all happening and where the volume is really listed. In fact, Binance is the #1 exchange right now. So the reason why, matters to you guys is if you are not looking at Binance yet, this is where you should be starting to pull your looking first as opposed to on Bittrex. And the reason I'm not diving into any one of these right now is because I think the thing that matters to you the most is, as of tomorrow, January 2nd, I think that a lot of this activity is going to go back into the big three. I think that you're going to start to see, obviously, some big, huge gains, but there's got to be some cool off period. That's why I'm focusing on Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum. And I'm obviously going to keep doing my research on all these altcoins. And I hope many of you just absolutely crush it on some of these altcoins. But I do think that you're going to see some action here, and then getting set up for the next big run on some of these altcoins as it goes in. Over the course of the week, we'll talk about some of the ones that I'm really excited about, especially the ones that we haven't talked a lot about. Like you guys all know, I'm a huge fan of Stellar Lumens, Zcoin, few others, but there are some that I've been looking at that I haven't really talked about that I think would be just helpful for you guys. That's probably better for another video. Cool. So I think the other big piece, which is kind of what's mentioned here, is that Ripple became the second highest market cap coin. Now, let me see here on Chain FX. It's important when you look at Ripple, this is true with any coin. If you go to on-chain FX, you can see this quasi-ambiguous figure, which is the year 2050 market cap implied. What this means that if the entire supply of this coin was at the current price, this is what the market cap really would be, because it hasn't. Some coins just haven't released, or some crypto coins have not released their entire supply. So we see Ripple with an $85 billion market cap, but if all of their coins were released, it would have a $221 billion market cap. Now that's important because it changes the dynamic of the money supply, it changes a lot of things. A lot of the Ripple coins are being held in escrow, and it's kind of, it's questionable on how that escrow is going to be released. I think that Ripple is what it is. I don't really I might have certain, opinions about it from it's centralized. It's a legit company in Silicon Valley here, right? They could get bought out. It's not like some decentralized crypto network. And that's a little, concerning, but at the same time, it's like we're here from profits are a big piece. I would say I'm 50% about crypto, like changing the world, and 50% here to make life-changing money. So you can't turn your back on either one of those. So that's really what something to keep in mind as it relates to Ripple. Same with Stellar Lumens, right? I can't just pick, I'm a huge fan of Stellar. Similar model to Ripple, except it's more decentralized. It's got a little bit of a different, but from a market cap standpoint, this is something that I got to keep in mind. From the unreleased coins, why aren't they released? And you should go do your own research, right? what Stellar has going for it. It's a nonprofit. They have a lot of other things. Ripple has, more of like an escrow account that they can give out to different partnerships, things like that. But a lot of these coins, this can get really interesting. A lot of talk about Cardano. That is one of the coins that I want to look into a lot this week. I know many of you have been talking about it. And so now that I'm back in the seat here in the trusty aquarium of crypto in San Francisco, I'm going to be able to look through a lot of these different coins. But these are just different ways to look at your same coin to make informed decisions. It's not necessarily about making decisions so that you can pick the winners. You do this kind of research so that you know it's worth holding on to, as opposed to getting weak hands as things change. That's really why you do all this research. Bittrex, nothing too crazy here. I mean, it's kind of the same story as what we just talked about, Ripple. And lastly, I would say Google Trends is always a really interesting predictor of price. Historically, at least this year it has been. And you can look, and Bitcoin has really taken a dive. And I don't necessarily think that's because less people are interested in Bitcoin. I truly believe it's because it's the holidays, or it has been the holidays, and people just have not been at their computers. And to many people globally who are not in Bitcoin yet, who are not in cryptocurrency, which is a vast, vast majority, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency represents like an escape from something they don't like. Many times that's a job. And so I would be willing to bet that as soon as people go back to work, they go back to their regular life, and they get into situations that they're not that excited about, this is going to start going up because Bitcoin all of a sudden gets more interesting as they can compare it to a life that is like, man, my boss is just really getting on my nerves today, or whatever. And it sounds like a very small thing, but that's what this is. That's how revolution starts. It starts from people wanting something different. So keep an eye on this as it relates. There's always a delay on Google Trends, and you can change it, right? You can go to like the past hour. It doesn't really matter, but keep an eye on that. And lastly, go and check out this tweet I put out earlier where I said, Happy New Year. What coin are you most stoked about this month? Comment below. And you can see there's a couple hundred comments. I would encourage everybody to go through and look at that list and see what people are really excited about this month, because crypto is a game of speculation, of emotion, and the masses really drive the market. And I think that there's a lot of really good data in that comment stream. And I'm not saying that anything is necessarily going to be the winner or the loser, but I think you can get a lot of good ideas. You can see what people are talking about, how people are excited about, what people are excited about, if you want some ideas. The other one I tweeted about that I think would be really helpful, revenue for vanity, profits for sanity, which we'll get into later this week. It was timely because at the end of the year, it's like you can make a certain amount of money, but only until you have that crypto in a form that is what you want it to be in. Meaning, do you want it to be in fiat currency? Do you want it to be in some sort of conservative investment portfolio? Do you want it to stay in crypto? Like whatever it is, after you pay your taxes on it, assuming you're in a place where you pay your taxes, when all is said and done, and you know that you cannot or will not lose that thing, that's when you're going to start to feel peace of mind. But if you have something that's gone up 1,000%, it's awesome to talk about, and you're going to get a lot of high fives, and people are going to think you're really cool, but you're still going to be stressed out until you have all the things dialed in. So I thought that was, I've heard someone told me that once about investing, and I've always thought that that's just a really good, just a really helpful way to think about things. Now let's just run through this real quick. If you came to the meetup, you'll remember this. Very excited about the 7,000 we donated last week to the charity. And I want to talk quickly about what drove crypto trends 2017. Again, This is not the be all end all. This is just some ideas that I had, and I think that you guys may find it very interesting. Let me move my face down so that it's a little easier for you guys to see here. Now, dopamine drove pretty much everything in 2017. It is the fact that it's 24/7. It's the fact that the exchanges are really fast. The fact that we have Telegram, Reddit, Twitter, Discord, Slack. I mean, the constant desire for that hit of a huge gain, that drove a huge amount of the price action in crypto this year, especially in altcoins. When you get on the dopamine and you start to see an ROI, right? If you're going 20 hours a day and you see something go 30%, the price goes up. It's going to feed the dopamine. And we've talked about this before, how people jump between different investments. And as they get that, dopamine by nature cannot sustain itself. As soon as it starts to die off, there's a few different ways to get more dopamine. You can add more money to your investment account. You can chase higher risk, higher reward coins. But inevitably, you get another one, and the cycle continues. That dopamine, that microbiological level, drove a vast majority, which is, I mean, that's what speculation is. All right. So I think that was a really interesting trend from my perspective. The second was the stories. We saw the famous story of, Vitalik had OMG's, Omise Go sticker on the laptop. Neo branded itself, or Ant Shares became Neo, which became was like the Ethereum of China. That's a very good branding story to tell. And the more you look at the reasons why anyone has bought any crypto in 2017, it's because of a story they tell themselves. And stories do not have to be fiction. They can be complete nonfiction, where, a story about like Zcoin was that they had masternodes, but they also had a great team, and they had a really great website, and they had their act together. Or with Litecoin, it was faster than Bitcoin. It was the cheapest one on Coinbase. Like, these are all stories, but that drove it. Stories in the equities market have to be backed up with earnings reports or with P&E, price to earnings ratios or anything like that. But we don't need to do that in crypto. All we need is a belief. What is something that's going to get us a convincing reason to believe that it's worth buying? And lastly, the connectedness of the crypto world. I think that this is a huge deal, and it may seem like an obvious given, but when you look back at every other huge market movement in the past, all the way back to, like the East Dutch, whatever the bubble was, and tulips and the gold rush of the 1800s, the Industrial Revolution, the Roaring 20s, the internet boom. I mean, all of them. Nobody had the connectedness, the speed, the globalization that we have. We also didn't have such a huge influence of people on social media, myself included, right? On YouTube, Twitter, Facebook to a certain extent, email, like Instagram, everywhere. The people who can influence, they can drive massive price movements on any of these coins. And so you get the combination of the mainstream media. CNBC has been really the kind of Vanity Fair, the TMZ of crypto. You get all these new social influencers coming out, and then you get these communities that build out in Telegram, Reddit, 4chan, which are really replacing social networks in many ways. Chat rooms are replacing social networks, which is kind of, that's always been the big thesis of social networks. And so this sort of thing, the ability for information to proliferate and spread very fast, in combination with dopamine and with stories, can drive huge price volumes, right? And so what happens is that people, they hear about the returns of something, or they hear about the potential of something. They do the research, but they're really looking for a story that they can buy in. And then the media and the social media, like everything kind of reinforces that creates big returns. And this whole cycle continues. I do not think any of this is bad or wrong or negative. I just think that this is what really drove a majority of the pricing in cryptocurrency. And for anybody who's looking into crypto, you see something like this and you're like, this is complete, what is going on? This makes no sense. But it kind of does, in the sense that it's filling a need that the market has for places to get return, to get yield. And if that gets more philosophical in that sense. Now, more importantly, what you guys probably care about, what's going to drive prices of crypto next year? There's a million things that are going to drive prices. This is just a few, and a few things I think that might be helpful for you guys to think about. Bitcoin is still king, and the dominance may come down a little bit, but over the next month, you're going to see Bitcoin having a next big thing. And the huge thing that you need to watch for is the ETF. If the ETF gets approved, and that can go live on the New York Stock Exchange or something like that, and people can buy and sell it easily from their, Charles Schwab or E-Trade account, that's going to be a very, very big deal. Okay? So the ETF is a big one. The custodial services, meaning the big the big investor who has $100 million to spend and the regular investor who has $1,000 to invest, they are not security experts. They are not going to go and get a ledger or a Trezor or have everything fully backed up and whatever else. Okay, there needs to be services that are not exchanges that can handle holding their assets. There's some secure custodial service. Coinbase is starting to do this for big money, but there needs to be some new stuff. And when it comes out, it's going to be a big deal. I think Coinbase and Gemini are doing a good job. I mean, I know everyone may not like a lot of these exchanges for good reason, but as they get more secure, as they get more insured, as they create better security, that's going to be a big deal, because keeping your money safe, you just can't expect the general population to do that. It's not going to happen. So these things, and then obviously institutional money, which is kind of a part of all this, this is going to be a huge deal. This is going to drive the real growth, right? We're talking, when I mean real growth, I mean getting to $2 trillion market cap. This is the big one. Second one, I think privacy is going to be huge in 2018. And the reason why I think privacy is going to be huge is because people who care privacy really care about privacy. And for a long time, I didn't think privacy was a huge deal. I was like, yeah, privacy, no privacy, whatever. But what I'm realizing now is that it is a very, very, very lucrative problem to solve. And there's two real groups, right? You get the high net worth people, where people who have just a huge amount of money, they've gone to Swiss bank accounts, they've gone to Panama banks, they've gone to the Cayman Islands, they've gone BVIs, these tax havens, but also these anonymous bank institutions. There is going to be a big demand for that in 2018 through privacy-related crypto as a storage of wealth and as potentially a payment service. Whether or not that's used for legal or not legal, it doesn't matter to me, because they're going to buy the crypto for it. Similarly, I think that there's a lot of people that are just regular crypto users, people who use it as payment to each other, as investors, whatever. They want to send money, and they want it to be more private. Ethereum's going to integrate some ZK Snark stuff, but you're seeing a big rise in a lot of these privacy coins. So keep these two things in mind. They may seem like small details, but people will put a lot of money into something because it's private. Private banking industry, dark web markets, these are huge, huge markets. And it's just going to, as regulation increases, there will be a big demand on this. And lastly, this is where I differ from a lot of other people you guys probably follow on YouTube and Twitter and whatever, because I think that the top 20, call it top 30, top 20, whatever, are going to have some of the best performances of any crypto in the space. Obviously, I took this screenshot like 2 weeks ago, so all the prices aren't completely accurate. But I think that you're going to see some of these top coins have the 10x returns that we're used to seeing from the altcoins. And it's just going to be harder and harder to find altcoins that do get the 10x. Plenty of opportunity, and we'll keep talking about that for sure. But I would encourage everybody not to overlook the top ones because they're already so big. Because when the coins that win are going to win huge, and the coins that don't win are just going to it's not going to be like a sharp sell-off because there's no earnings reports to justify sell-off. It's just going to kind of die away. It's just going to kind of, whatever. But the ones that do win are going to win huge. Like the cream rises to the top and it stays at the top. So I would keep your eye on a lot of these top, let's say 20 or 30 coins, as opposed to trying to just, constantly shooting for long shots. At least with a majority of your portfolio. A couple other ones, regulation is going to be big. Stable coins, I think, are going to have a resurgence. Decentralized exchanges are going to be interesting. Viable currencies, being able to actually use this sort of stuff. All of these sort of tie together in many ways. The reason I put these all together is that I'm not convinced that these are going to drive price the way the other three will. But I do think these are really interesting trends to keep watching as it relates to your portfolio and as it relates to the things that you decide to buy and decide to get excited about. So keeping these in mind, I own ZRX, Project Zero X, which is a decentralized exchange. I own some Maker Coin, which is the stable coin. Regulation, it's nothing you can really do about that except for the privacy coins like, I guess Monero and Zcash. I'm not really a Zcash fan. Monero I like a lot more. Viable currencies, things like Litecoin and a few others that we'll be talking about. There's ways to, hedge yourself or put a bet on these. I just don't know if these are going to be huge as the other three will be. And I'll leave it with this. I think Bitcoin's just going to continue to crush it. I think that it's going to hit at least 50,000 by the end of the year. I think Ethereum will also have a great year, but it needs a thing. It needs another big win. It had ICOs in May and June. It needs some new use case. Smart contracts need to start being used in some real way that is like a real use case. If it does, when it does, I should say, it could easily go to 2,000 or 3,000, no problem. And Bitcoin Cash, as much as everyone hates it, I think it's still a good hedge because there's still so many unknowns. It's not dead by any means. But I would say keep it as this very, very small part of your portfolio, not necessarily because I love Bitcoin Cash, I believe in it, but because it does offer something that Bitcoin doesn't. It does have the brand. It's on Coinbase. There's something there that you just don't want to miss it, especially when you're building a portfolio. The only thing I didn't put in here is Litecoin. As you guys know, I'm a huge Litecoin bull. I would encourage you continue to keep buying Litecoin. All right. So with that, we'll wrap this up. I think that over the course of this week, we'll talk about a few things. We'll talk about Zcoins, Masternodes. We'll talk about Masternodes in general. That was something people really want to talk about. We'll talk about some of the coins that I'm going to be buying up for 2018 and really just about some of the strategies that I've learned, some of the big takeaways from 2017, trading, holding, all that sort of thing, so that we can absolutely crush this year. This year is going to be crazy good. I mean, it's going to be so big. It's hard to just wrap your head around it, but I mean, we're talking still like 4 or 5x from where we are right now, which is going to be big. Great, guys. Well, it's good to be back, and thanks for tuning in today, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.